Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson. This is Full Time Devils. Today I'm delighted to be joined by an absolute rogues gallery that includes John Shin, Statman Dave, and Adam McCullough. What's happening, gents? How are you doing? All right, loads of noises from everybody, but no actual words from mouths. Our bubble has been burst a little bit, Adam. A lot of us expected to go to Spurs quite confidently, pick up 3 points, and shut up a lot of the hate that has been directed at Manchester United, and that did not happen. What happened was a turgid display of absolutely shocking football and arguably one of the worst performances that we've seen under Jose Mourinho in his tenure so far, I think it's fair to say. I'm sure you lot can agree, and if you don't agree, I don't care. Get your comments in below, and I'll be reading some of your comments out a little bit as this video goes on. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is the battle for second. You don't get a trophy for it. It means no more than coming third, really, in the grand scheme of things. Although there's a lot of smaller club fans like Arsenal fans tell us that finishing above us actually means something for the past few seasons. Only if you win something, lads. Only if you win something. But second place is probably where Manchester United can best look to finish this season. I think it's going to ask too much of this squad and too much of Manchester City to drop the points required for us to mount a serious title challenge. I think we are the only team capable of doing so. And if we can't do it, nobody can. So does second place represent the best chance of a finish in the league for Manchester United? Do you even care where we finish as long as we qualify for the Champions League? John, I'm going to come to you first. What do you reckon?
I think the battle for second is a little bit more of a heated battle rather than trying to chase the top. To be honest with you, the gap is too massive of a sort of gap to not sort of catch up on. But I think we still need to make sure that we're sort of fighting on all four fronts or all three fronts, whatever the hell the case is. We need to make sure that not only are we making good progress in the Champions League or in the FA Cup, we also need to make sure that the people behind us in the Premier League aren't getting any closer. And like you said, that's an ideal situation. I'm sure there's going to be a point where we're bound to drop a few points here and there. But another great point that you made is the trophy. I mean, if we can sort of lock in a second place, third place with some sort of trophy or some sort of silverware at the end of the season, there's nothing better than we can ask for at that point. So I think the sort of conclusion is to fight on all fronts as much as possible, but at the same time, try to end the season with some sort of silverware.
Adam, is that realistic though? Because once the promise of silverware has gone, the only thing that the players are playing for is a qualification for another competition, which is I imagine, fair. I mean, you shouldn't need to motivate before anyone starts going full Brexit and Yadar in the comments, but you shouldn't need to motivate players. But the fact of the matter is the motivation for winning things is easier than the motivation for just qualifying for things, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think you saw that last season as well. Like, once we knew... I know our team wasn't good enough to win the league last season, but once that was gone, you kind of seen a real fall off in performances. And I think the fans hate it as well, turning up for games, and we know the league's gone, and we all feel like this doesn't feel right when you go into games in the league. It's January, and the title race, but that's been the way it's been for us for the last couple of years now. And I think that's why we have to look at this season with a little bit more perspective. Yes, it does hurt to see those guys over there, absolutely smashing it. And yes, you would like it to be a little bit closer at the top. And I think Jose has got some things wrong. But ultimately, I think we're moving in the right direction and getting a trophy. And I don't think a trophy is as important this year. But I think getting a trophy would be nice just to keep that feeling of progression going. And I mentioned this before, if Jose was to win the FA Cup, that would mean he's won every trophy at United apart from the Premier League and Champions League in his first 2 years. So that's a sign of progression in itself. But I think finishing second or third or getting second, like if we missed out on second in the last day of the season by goal difference, I wouldn't be arsed, But if we finish second, at least we can look at that and think, I don't want to sound like, we put the most pressure on, because we haven't put pressure on. But if we could say we went from 6th to 2nd, we progressed well in the Champions League, we won the FA Cup, I think that would represent a good season for Manchester United. It wouldn't represent an ideal season or a perfect season or anything like that. But when you look at what Jose's had to deal with, when you look at the transfers he's made have been very good, but the number of transfers haven't been enough, I think. And just looking at the numbers, Manchester City have brought 19 in since they brought Pep in. United have brought 7 in since they brought Mourinho in. just looking at that from a pure aspect, we saw Valencia, Smalling, Jones, Young in our back four at the against Spurs. That's not good enough. So we've still got a lot of improving to do. So I think it would represent a good season. But yes, fighting for trophies is better than fighting for meaningless league spots, if you can call it that.
That point on Pep bringing in 19, it's 19 and also having Company, Silva, Aguero and De Bruyne as well.
And a league-winning side.
You've literally got a full squad there. We didn't exactly have anyone except De Gea that really falls into that category for when Jose had to start building this side. Dave, second place.
Just one sec. To be fair, I don't want to sound stupid. We have signed players, Darmian's, Rojo's, Lindelof's, Bailey's. It's not been all the same players. We have had signings that haven't worked, but they've been Van Gaal and Moyes visions, and then Mourinho's vision. So it's been a mix mash of managers. Just to get that in before the comments go nuts. Sorry, man.
So second would represent progress in the league. Progress in the Champions League, we should get past Sevilla. A decent bit of luck in the Champions League quarter-final could see us in the semi-final. Would semi-final Champions League and second place in the league represent progress for you? And do you think that would settle a lot of fans?
I think so, yeah. I think if you look at what's happened previously, seventh under Moyes, Louis van Gaal, fourth and fifth, and then Mourinho's first season as sixth, obviously that was kind of pushed away. The Europa League was the focus, which isn't a bad thing. But I think it's got to be about building this side and building this team and looking at the progress that some of these players have made under Mourinho and how United are a young side and it's just going to get better and better. So I think the second place finish is what needs to happen. I think that United have to fight for that second place. They need to be serious about it because if they get second place this season, that means next season is a title challenge for those players mentally. And I think that's so key, is getting that mental part in your head that you've got to play the full season, because potentially what you could say about United over the last 4 seasons is they've massively dropped off at the end of the season. You can't do that if you're chasing a league. To fight for second place and to take it seriously is massively important for Mourinho and Manchester United just for next season. When they get to that stage, they get to around April time, City United will be so close next season in terms of the money that's going to be spent again in the summer. They need to be ready to be like, we've done this before, we've seen it through, and we've pushed hard at the end. And in a way, you shouldn't be doing. Professional players should never drop off. They get paid to do one of the greatest things in the world is play football. Drop off, whether you're using your squad or whatever, for me, it doesn't cut it. You have to push forward no matter what. So I would like to see a second place 100% Champions League, the semi-final. That'd be great. That'd be icing on the cherry. But I think more importantly, it is getting that second place first.
Icing on the cherry. There's another statman, David. Definitely Yorkshire by trade. I don't think it's out of the realm of realism to say that. I understand entirely what you're saying. And obviously in everybody's mind, they're like, no, they've got to go till the end. But being real, there is always a drop-off in performance. We saw it at the end of last season. You've got to expect it. If you expect it, you're not going to flip out.
It's not good enough.
It isn't good enough.
Manchester United.
I'm not saying it's good enough.
Full stop.
I'm just saying expect it.
I can't say it's expected. It shouldn't be expected. At Manchester United, you should go in. You should be winning every single game. That was the mentality under Ferguson.
Yeah,
whether or not we were second, third, whatever.
It's not going to happen that we're going to win every game, is it?
But then there's a problem.
I think last season was more by design, wasn't it? Jose had almost, I think they said Fergie, bloody hell, I wish. Jose had kind of given up on the league, hadn't he, by that point. So we've got to keep going. But it'd be interesting to see if we did get further in the Champions League. Imagine we got to a semi-final, and would he then think, oh fuck this, I'm gonna go all out for this Champions League? It'd be interesting to see how the season develops. But like Dave, in an ideal world, you don't give up. But we know mentally,
I think just
something goes.
Just being devil's advocate here and throwing realism into the fact there is a drop-off in performance. That happens.
It's kind of an excuse. It's not an excuse for these players.
I'm not excusing it, Dave. I don't agree with it. I'm just saying that's what happens. Right, we got some comments, and listen. Abhishek says, is Howson wearing a Leeds jersey?
Yeah. A black one with a Man United badge on it.
If you don't know what this jersey is, I don't know what to suggest here. I'm going to just say, you're in the wrong neighbourhood, son, if you don't recognise this jersey.
You don't know why that jersey
one of the most iconic jerseys United have ever worn. You absolute maniac. Meat says, Winning is good for confidence, and second is better than third. I think at the end of the season, because of all the people who give us the sixth thing last year, when in reality we were probably worth fourth, I think all the people who give us that, we probably was before we absolutely tossed it off.
We jacked it in.
Yeah, we jacked it in to win the Europa League. We literally threw those games.
We focused on the Europa League when we'd finally figured out that the Champions League wasn't the game. Anyway, whatever.
No, it's still mathematically possible well before then. Tianji says,
win the league, lads.
I said in the previous match that Sanchez should have been on the bench. Oh?
No, no one. Don't be coming out saying this now. Everybody.
Did we lose at Spurs because Sanchez had a bad performance, or was he probably our best player?
That was it, wasn't it? That was exactly it, Howson. It was Sanchez.
He's shit, send him back.
Sorry, mate. What a mad statement that is.
Why don't we get that German fella instead? That's what I want to know.
Which one, Mertesacker?
Yeah, exactly, Matt. We need a decent centre half.
Ankit says, why are people in the comments pissing on Jose? You're all nuts. Because there's a lot of overreactionary babies, and YouTube attracts a lot of them. Kofi says, we have to play 4-3-3 with Pogba more up front. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. 4-3-3 for this United side has to be the formation. We have to figure out a way to fit him into that. Max Red says...
Why does Jose seem so against it?
I don't know, mate. Maybe because he just don't have the faith in another midfielder.
But surely,
surely,
look, I'm not going to be like, obviously I don't know better than the man that's won Champions Leagues and all that. But surely he can see what we can see, and he can see that Matic and Pogba together isn't working. Apparently Matic has had an injury for a while, which would probably explain some of his performances recently, because they have taken a dip. But surely he's seen that Pogba and Matic playing together isn't helping either of them. Matic is overrun, and Pogba is overworked. We need him to be further forward.
I think it's quite interesting that it has worked against the weaker sides where you've got one less midfielder in a way. You know, you're thinking you've got the double pivot and you're not getting countered as much. There's not much risk there. But against someone like Tottenham that flood that space in front of your back four, it just seemed a little bit crazy. Like, it seemed crazy to play that system. And like going back and looking at when Mourinho hasn't played the 4-2-3-1 versus the top sides, they've won 3, drawn 2, and lost 2. His record when he hasn't played the 4-2-3-1 is actually quite good against the top 6. So it is, like you're saying, Mac, it's perplexing.
Max Red says Smalling the main problem. For the first goal, he let his man free, and his marking was bad all match. He is so shit on the ball, always panics, passes back to the gate, and Spurs pressed us so high. Smalling on the ball.
I agree. Smalling's the weakest of Smalling and Jones. If you're getting rid of one of them, you get rid of Smalling.
Well, we're going to talk about Jones in a minute, so save what you're going to say for Jones because it's the next thing. Up here,
always been
there's a sub count which you can see. I think it's this side. Let's make this go higher. Can we get to 7 million by the end of this show? I think we can do it. You guys can help.
7 million likes.
7 million subs by the end of the show. We'll quit. Right. AFAF says we need a storm in summer transfers. I don't think we're going to get it, to be honest with you. Certainly don't expect to be seeing the sort of riches that Pep gets flung at him. And Jamie Toussaint says FA Cup is important, but school is importanter. Phil Jones then. There's a lot of grumbles about Phil Jones after the game, and I thought it was a little bit unfair, to be honest. Yes, he scored a fantastic own goal, technique-wise. But I thought he was the better of the centre half, so I thought he had a decent game, apart from his own goal, if I'm being completely honest with you. What is our best centre half? John, I'm going to start with you. What's our best centre half partnership?
You know, I just want to take a moment to speak a little bit about Phil Jones. You know, you guys went on, so I was sitting here quietly so that I can spend some time to talk about John. Why. Nah, you have to hear me.
Shut up, John.
You have to hear me.
Where's the tactics board, John?
Hold on.
Phil Says Jones. Dave. Dave, you don't have the right to say those kind of things.
I want it out, Mac. It's not a slight at John. It's I want to see the tactics board.
Dave, until you've shut all your cupboard doors, don't even talk to us.
Okay, hold on. Phil Jones.
Dave.
Phil Jones is an issue for Manchester United, and I think the fact that Phil, I think.
All right, we're back on air. I'll tell you when I go, John.
It's a fucking joke.
Right, we are back on. Apologies about that. Everything crashed because the knowledge John was dropping was too much for everyone to handle. John, you want to talk about Phil Jones? Give us what you're saying.
Okay, well, basically my point was that I don't even want to go anymore, but my point was Phil Jones lacks the qualities of being a central defender at Manchester United. And I want to take a moment to look at that second goal. It was horrendous, and you can see the amount of time that he was given by Kieran Trippier before that cross came in to sort of adjust himself. And lots of people on these analysis shows were just kind of pointing at the fact that Phil Jones just could have cleared that ball out with his left foot. But many times again, we see that Phil Jones has this sort of lack of balance as a central defender. And I think that's a major, major key that you need to have as quality in a central defender. You can have the balance of strength, composure, that sort of understanding of the game from the back line. But if you don't have a balance, and if you're sort of always either on your knees or on the ground or sort of panicking, that's going to always leave this sort of room for liability, and it's going to cause a bit of that upset at the back end. We can't allow that to be our central defensive sort of that stalwart central defender, and I think that's why Jose Mourinho signed the likes of somebody like Eric Bailly, maybe some sort of stability like Victor Lindelof, and Phil Jones needs to sort of either understand that or go. I'm sorry, but we can't allow that to be our standard. And I've said this time and time and again, but I can't have that I can't accept that as a standard for Manchester United in terms of central defense.
Adam.
John's had enough.
Adam, Phil Jones then, thoughts on what do you think the best centre-half partnership is that we've got?
Listen, I actually think Philip of Jones has been one of our top 5 performers this season. I genuinely think Phil Jones has done well this season, and that's why I was surprised by him at the weekend. Sorry, I keep saying the weekend against Spurs. I was really surprised by him against them, not with the own goal, because he can do stupid things like that. Falling asleep after 10 seconds. I think Ashley Young, Phil Jones, Chris Smalling all had parts to play in that. But it was just, I never felt confident in that defence that day. And I think I rarely feel confident in Smalling these days, which is sad, because he has had times where he's been great for us. But I think out of those two, I don't think we should ever see Young, Smalling and Jones in the same back four ever again. And I don't think we should ever see Smalling and Jones together in the defence ever again. And I think if I was to get rid of one of those, it'd be Smalling. And I do think we have to replace one of those now. And because if you look at our defence, Bay's not going to go. He's going to stay. Lindelof isn't going to go yet. It'd surprise me if he let him go in the summer. Marcus Rojo, I think he's quality. And I think Jose likes him too. And I think you keep him around. And then you got Twanzebe coming back. And then one more of Smalling and Jones and a new signing, I think, will be it. So I can't see Smalling being here much longer. He'll probably be joining Mkhitaryan at Arsenal sometime soon. But it's disappointing because we had such high hopes for them. But it's John's fault.
Dave, you actually do like Phil Jones, right?
I think it's such an overreaction. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I understand that technically he's very poor in that situation. He's got to clear that with his left foot. But you look at the systematic issue of that goal. I highlighted in the preview before the game on my channel that United need to be aware of Harry Kane receiving the ball to feet in the left-hand side, then they switch the play to the overlapping fullback, and you need to stop the cross. If it's Serge Aurier, you can let him cross because he's absolute toilet at crossing. But if it is someone like Kieran Trippier, you can't let the cross come in. It's basic defending, and that's why I said again that Luke Shaw should have started ahead of Ashley Young because defensively he's more switched on. If the cross doesn't come in, Phil Jones doesn't get his feet in a mess, and he doesn't put it into the back of his net. It's as simple as that. It's too reductionist, this analysis of Phil Jones. And Phil Jones, for me, had quite a good game, barring that moment. I don't think the first goal was for him to blame. I think that's a collective thing again from Manchester United. And for me, that is the big thing. Collectively, United was so poor. Like, it reminded me of the game against Chelsea, where Chelsea kicks off and they scored straight away because Smalling was, again, half asleep. You see who lost their first aerial duel. If you want to go down to the point of contact, Chris Smalling clears that out, or Ashley Young, sorry, and then it goes to Chris Smalling. It's one of these things where it's too basic to be like, oh, Phil Jones is rubbish. because he's had a cracking season. I agree with Matt. I don't think he's top 5. I think he's top 3.
He usually has cracking seasons when he's injured, doesn't he?
Cracking season. I think he's top 3 in terms of Man United. And to break it down and just to say, he's had one bad game, scored one on goal because his feet were in a mess. Yeah, fair enough. He's got to be working that on the training ground, and he probably is working that on the training ground now. But again, he's playing on the left side because United have just been so unbalanced at centre half. Marcus Rojo is a little bit rash to be a good centre-half for United. He's not, and he's the only left footer. So quite frankly, until United sort that problem out of having a left footer, we're going to see things like Phil Jones doing that because they're right-footed, and that's the problem, that they're not sort of, they can't use both feet as well as each other, and that is a big problem for United. Until United address that problem, until they address the collective issue in these big games away from home and not starting quickly. Go back to that Liverpool team that nearly won the Premier League, that came second. They started so fast in the big games. United aren't starting fast in these big games, and that is one of the problems.
Can I just add? I'm not.
No, John, you can't add.
No, I don't think we're here to sit here collectively say, or me personally saying that Phil Jones was garbage. I think he was one of the best in the league for us in terms of his sort of performances. He's been probably one of our outstanding defenders at the back. So you have to give him that credit. I'm not here to say that he's been shit all season or the season before that. I'm here to say that Phil Jones lacked that sort of standards that we want to set. I'm not here to slate him and just get rid of him saying he's been shit all season, but the fact that he sort of gets caught out in these sort of big games, gets caught out when you need him to be sort of that standing rock at the back. That's the issue here. That's the underlying concern. Out of Phil Jones, Chris Smalling, everybody sort of knows that Phil Jones is probably the better out of the other two. Of course, Phil Jones has that raw strength and the ability to understand when to go into challenges. He's got the understanding of how to go against the defender. He has that quality. But at the end of the day, if you're lacking balance, you lose composure and you lose the confidence at the back. And you don't want to have that sort of lack of composure and confidence at the back, especially when you're on your left, you have somebody like Ashley Young, and on your right, you have somebody like Chris Smalling. And that was my only concern in this point about Phil Jones.
All right, okay.
I think the big thing there is that number one for me, if you're playing two centre-halves for United, right, for me, I'd be playing Bailly and Lindelof as much as possible. That would be my starting pairing. I think those two together have the highest ceiling of a centre-back pairing. And Lindelof played on the left-hand side for Benfica for a whole season and they won the league. Is going to be a lot better on that left foot. And I think that's what you got to go with. I understand the flack that Lindelof got when he came, the mistakes he made. He has to make the mistakes to get better. It's better to do that this season when we're fighting for second than next season when we're fighting for the league. And it's as simple as that.
Right, I got a question for you guys in the comments. Do you reckon Phil Jones ever finished a meal without getting it all down his front? Right, we're going to go into the starting 11 now. So we're going to start with you, Mr. McCullough. You are top of the league. You're on 118 points. It's you three that are the top three. Dave's in third. Can't get anywhere. He's going to stay in third regardless today. But John and Adam battling it out for top of the league. So Adam, give us your starting 11 for this week.
You say we're battling it out. We're not really battling it out, are we?
Well, he could overtake you this week, to be honest.
And these lot are fighting for second.
The battle for second.
Sounds like the Premier League, this, doesn't it? I sent this to Chris. So this is what I hope. I've gone with hope today. Against Spurs, I went with this is what I think Jose is going to pick. And I kind of wanted him to pick that as well. In hindsight, it was a dreadful choice. But this is the team I've gone with for the weekend. David De Gea, Valencia. Then I've put 3 changes in that back 4. Lindelof, Rojo, Shaw to come in. I want Jose to just be like, he looked angry that day, and I liked it. I hope someone got some slaps in that dressing room.
I reckon he definitely flipped a table inside the dressing room.
Yeah, punched something.
Just punched Rojo because Rojo
swore in Portuguese that no one could understand as well. Just like blah, 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 blah.
Apart from Joe
like, damn, what the hell was he just saying?
Where was I? Luke Shaw. This is what he said, and I quote: "There aren't many better left backs in the world than Luke Shaw, apart from Ashley Young. Obviously, he's like things." Jose, man, gotta love him. Matic. I've kept Matic in the team, but if he is injured, I'd play Carrick. But I didn't know that when I picked this, so I've got to go with Matic. Herrera. Pogba. I'm glad Pogba posted that post yesterday. Like, could you imagine if he didn't play? And then we had all this like, oh, Pogba's off and some stuff. I'm glad he's reacting to it in kind of a positive way. So yeah, I like that from him. Alexis, Lukaku, Martial. Keep the faith with that front three. They didn't have any supply at all. So I'd like us to keep the faith with them. Alexis on the left, though. Sorry, Alexis on the right, Martial on the left.
I like it. David, starting 11.
Kind of with Mac in a way where the back four needs to be changed. I think there's changes that need to be made. De Gea in goals. Shaw, I think Valencia as well. I didn't get that bad a game against Spurs. I'm going to go Lindelof, Rojo, Shaw, just to try it out. I think Lindelof just needs game minutes, as I said before. In terms of Shaw, I thought it would have been better to play Shaw against Spurs and Young against Huddersfield, but that's my personal opinion in terms of Young's input in an attacking sense, not a defensive sense. Then I'd go for a three-man midfield, Matic, Herrera, Pogba. It's been crying out for this midfield. It's been crying out for the 4-3-3. It was in the comments, trending hard, and I'm going to go with the 4-3-3. Then a front three of Marcus Rashford on the right, Lukaku through the middle, and Sanchez on the left. I think Martial looked lost on that right wing, kept on drifting inside. The moment that he, had that chance, he absolutely blazed it over the bar from the right hand side, coming in. I just think he's left-sided. He's the left-sided attacker now, and play him on the right at the moment don't work. Rashford's got experience playing there, so I'd stick him on the right hand side, natural width. Sanchez coming in, and of course, big Lukaku through the middle. He just needs a goal. He needs his teammates to find him. He's been so isolated recently. Needs to be some more interplay with Lukaku and running off him and playing passes into him, into his feet. Of course, the comments from Rio Ferdinand, obviously got to respect what Rio's saying about Kane being the better striker and Kane holding onto the ball, Kane, being strong against the centre halves. United didn't give Lukaku the chance to do that because they didn't find the ball to feet enough. So I think with Lukaku, I think his performance level's fine when you get him the ball. United just got to get him the ball a bit more, and it's as simple as that. And that's my 11 anyway.
John, give us your 11, son.
All right, right here. Producer Chris, I don't know if you can get that in frame here, but can you guys see that?
Lingard matter? Is he a new player?
No. So I have to explain that real quick. So I went with David De Gea in goal.
Like Walker Peters.
My back,
by the way.
Pardon?
There's 12 players.
I know. I understand. Unlike you guys who have the sort of producer Chris version, I got my own shit going on here, so I can erase it if I like. All right, just hang in there for a second. I got David De Gea in goal. I got back four of Luke Shaw, Rojo. I went for Phil Jones with Valencia. And now, the reason why I put Phil Jones here was because, as I mentioned, Phil Jones is one of the best central defenders in the team, and we do have a great defensive record in the Premier League to begin with. So at the end of the day, Phil Jones has to be here, irrespective of what I think. So I think Jose Mourinho is going to probably start him alongside Rojo. Midfield three, we've been crying out for it. Matic, Pogba, and I think Herrera is probably going to get the start here. With a front three, I couldn't decide if I wanted to start Lingard or Mata, but I think I'm probably going to go Lingard here. And it's going to be probably a front three of Alexis, Lukaku, and Lingard.
I love you, John.
John, we don't deserve.
John just got an extra 5 points for innovating, so it's actually even now.
No, sorry.
I think you'll find I've got a black shirt on. I am the referee.
Yeah.
So
just hand in the league for God's sake. The FA loves
equal.
bloody.
Right. Talk to me about Huddersfield, Adam.
We lost there last time.
We did.
That was shit. That was where it all went wrong.
It was right. Well, it did go wrong there, didn't it? All go wrong there.
We've got a mad record against them, where I know we haven't played them much in recent times, and the last time we played them was like the 70s or something before this season. But our win ratio against them is really low compared to other clubs, which is interesting. We've only ever won 40% of our games against them.
Ooh.
Bet you didn't know that.
Stat man Adam.
Top goal scorer is Depatre, and what's the other one?
Moy.
Not Moy.
Moy.
The one that's joint on goal. Dave, tell me.
Munier.
Yeah, I like him. He's good. He's got a nice name as well.
Moy's got the next leading goal scorer, I think.
I once got arrested for giving someone a Munier.
David, what do you know about Huddersfield? What should we be looking out for?
I think the big problem with the Huddersfield game was Man United's build-up was so slow and so easy to deal with from Huddersfield, and they just sat and picked us off on the counter-attack. It was so simple. It was that one Matt touch inside. Huddersfield pressured and they broke. you think of the United team that day, didn't have a Paul Pogba, and Paul Pogba was injured at that point. United's build-up was atrocious around that time. The way that they were moving teams around just wasn't good enough. It was when Ander Herrera and Matic were playing together in midfield, who it just doesn't work. They're too similar in what they do when they play them together in a double pivot. I like them in a three-man midfield, but in two, absolutely not. With Paul Pogba back and United returning to the 4-3-3, that's going to win them the game. The big thing Huddersfield did tactically that was different is they went with a three-man midfield. It was Danny Williams, Jonathan Hogg and Moy, where that was a little bit unexpected. You expected them to also play a 4-2-3-1. So they kind of blocked United centrally. And then we saw Brighton do the same thing and nearly get a result at Old Trafford. But with United, if they go for a three-man midfield, if Paul Pogba is firing on all cylinders like he has done in that formation, then it's going to be simple for United. I don't really worry about their players and their team collectively. They're very good. They're very good at pressing in certain situations. But United just need to be good on the ball, and that is the biggest thing. It's moving them around. It's being composed in the centre of the pitch, not playing that bad pass that's going to get intercepted. That is going to open United up on the counter-attack.
John, what do you think about the field?
I think we can sort of, on a ball comparison, I think we can say Huddersfield is like a sort of Spurs light in a sense that they really press aggressively. I think back in October when we first played them, I watched Statman Dave's tactical preview against Huddersfield pretty extensively, and I do recall him saying that they press very aggressively. And I think, although now they're sort of sitting 17th place, they have four losses in a row, so it'll be a complete different situation. They're probably going to be fighting for any sort of point possible. I don't know if they're going to be coming out guns blazing with some sort of that aggressive approach. So it'll be a different team that we're going to be playing against, especially now that we're playing at home. So it shouldn't pose too much of a threat. I think going forward, we just need to find that delicate balance between understanding Sanchez's movement and Sanchez understanding our team's movement. Many times against Spurs, in that first half, we showed many good opportunities in sort of the build-up, but the likes of Lukaku, Lingard, their timing was just a bit off in terms of understanding how Sanchez was going to feed them the balls over the top, behind over the shoulder, or through the channels and things of that nature. So I think more so it's going to be an offensive understanding from Manchester United as opposed to Huddersfield. But again, they're probably going to try to sit deep and understand, defend really compact, and we're going to try to dismantle that.
John, I'm going to stay with you. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to go 2-0. I think we're going to be able to keep a clean sheet here.
David, score prediction?
We haven't scored 4 goals this calendar year yet, right? I think I'm going to go 4-0 United. It's going to go back to the glory days, Sanchez and Pogba.
Oh, okay. Adam?
That's the glory days of Sanchez and Pogba. When were they then?
Glory days of the 4-0 win, Adam. You listen to what I'm saying and stop keep butting in, yeah?
Sorry, Dave. Just trying to be clever again.
Score?
You talking to me?
Yeah, you.
Me? Oh, okay. I was about to say something mad then. Thank God I didn't. 5-0 FC.
Oh, okay. 5-0 from Adam. Everyone's very confident.
Martial don't start this, I'm rioting. Watch Jose just be like, oh yeah, let's take Martial out.
Right, shut it. Right, thank you guys for watching. Once you finish watching this, you need to go and watch the Full Time Devils podcast. It'll be in our recent previews. Put your board down, John. It'll be in the recent video, so go check it out. Podcast, some mad stuff happened on the podcast last night. And if you want to check out another podcast, me and Dave did one as well. So after you've watched that, go and watch mine on the podcast channel. And follow their lads' channels as well. And we will see you for the full coverage of the Huddersfield game from Old Trafford tomorrow. If you're there, come and say hello. If you're not, come and say hello online. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new around here. Let's bump this little number up here, and we'll see you later. Laters.